For more on this conversation, we're now joined by Nasiphi Phaliso. She is from the Walter Sisulu University. She joins us now via our video link. Nasiphi, thank you so much for your time. I mean, just looking at that insert, it just shows, the sheer challenges that many people in the Eastern Cape are faced with when it comes to sign language.
Thank you, Mani, and greetings to the viewers. Exactly. It is so disheartening because we look at the 30 years of democracy and we are still faced with such. And this barrier of the dialect that seems to be actually the issue here. Now we have sign language interpreters in Umtata that also are not well capacitated and they are not utilized. Especially when we go to this recent case that they're talking about in the justice system way. There was this court case of extortion. Then the sign language interpreters, the local sign language interpreters were expected to interpret for a fee under or for just for transport money. And that's a profession. It needs to be respected and there are principles around it. Now, the question now that we need to ask is, why then the Department of Justice does not recruit and train? That we are faced then again with this type of situation that now we are talking about.
Yeah. And Nasiphi, would you say, this dialect challenge or problem in the Eastern Cape is unique to the Eastern Cape, or is this also being experienced by other provinces?
It's experienced by other provinces because the issue of a dialect it's actually influenced by different geographic areas, and it's also influenced by different schools. We know that South Africa is diverse and it's made up of multilingualistic communities. Those dialects come from those aspects. Yeah? So now when now you are forcing, the deaf people know their language better than anybody else. And now when they notice that there is a barrier now, we do see the efforts that have been made. But now we are saying that it's not enough. There's this type of challenge that we keep on saying. And we need to utilize our local people, that we want them to be properly trained so that they can deliver the services in a manner that it's so inclusive and we can hear them. Not having a communication barrier, because it leads to a communication barrier in essence.
And it seems as if, what you're talking about really here is nothing new. And why would you say this has not been prioritized by government?
It has not been prioritized to a point that, looking at first the scarcity of interpreters, deaf people rely on interpreters. And now when we have these local interpreters and then they're not utilized, then we take somebody maybe from Johannesburg, then comes and interprets here in Umtata. That person is well trained, yes, is accredited South African Sign Language interpreter, yes, we do not dispute that. But then now there comes an issue of the barrier, the issue of the dialect, which is now a barrier. And now then that means that the purpose of having that sign language interpreter then becomes pointless.
It's pointless, certainly. And maybe tell us about the impact thereof when it comes to, these barriers in which you speak of, that, those in your community actually can't really express themselves because of the issues around a sign language dialect, which is not being catered for in the province.
Okay. It goes back to what also they've touched on. Sign language interpreter, again, it's present. It's not from this region. And then a person gets arrested. Then maybe that person committed the offense, but they will run away to the fact that I can't hear this person. And they can't hear them. It's not a matter of them making it up because they want to get away with murder or they want to get away with whatever offense. But they can't really they can't hear a thing. So now that means there's a lot that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Then that means there has to be something that bridges between, then we can say we have done a good job.
What needs to happen for government to actually take this seriously, like you're saying, that more needs to be done? Or, how do we equip government to ensure that communities no longer suffer and there is no communication barrier for those using sign language?
Let us recruit first. Let us recruit. Let us train the interpreters that we have. Let us capacitate. Let us have programs that are locally based. Because now, even the sign language interpreters here that are based, they are faced with many social, economic standards that are also a barrier to them to accessing other services. Remember, most of the sign language interpreters, they are coders, they are children of deaf adults. They have been supported and been raised from a social grants, and they have been fighting and striving to get education in those difficult terms. Ne? And now we say let us have accessibility to scholarship. Let us have accessibility to bursary. Let us be able, maybe even if it's programs, let's say just Department of Justice, train them. If you have a database that's open to take them, train them, capacitate them with the normal, with the required specification on when it comes to the Department of Justice and the linguistics Department of Justice.
Yeah.
And also it goes also to other departments. That is something that has not been done because there are few. In fact, when you come to that, they are just about Department of Education and Department of Public Works. They are the ones that have been utilizing mostly, especially in Owatabo, the sign language interpreting services. Other departments, nothing. Home Affairs, nothing. SASA, nothing. I can name a number that I go to and I never see a sign language interpreter. I have just they will come to me and say, please, can you please go and interpret for me? And there I'm a helper. I'm not a sign language interpreter because I was never employed by them. I'm there with my parents, and that is a bad thing.
Yeah, and coming to how you grew up and your unique story, I mean, you've been brought up by two parents who are deaf and who have been using sign language to communicate. What were the challenges that you came across with your parents in the Eastern Cape?
There's been a number, yeah? And I've grown up as a person who was my parents' sign language interpreter at a young age. And this goes to most children of deaf adults. They are their parents' sign language interpreters. Their parents will take you out of school. It's not even, they will ask for you not to go to school because they want you to take them to the hospital. I was faced one time now, I was writing my exams, honors exams. My mother fell sick. I had to be in hospital while I had to study for an exam. So it was just so difficult to juggle around, but I'm used to it. I'm used to it, so I can adjust to it. But that's not something that I must be proposed to. I must be forced to live under. When my parents should have received this services from that government state, from that department that they needed their services, from that band that they needed their service. Now I have to go there and be my parents' interpreter, and for me also it's depressing, also on my side.
A very sad story to hear about that, Nasiphi. But thank you so much for that insight and for your time this evening. That is Nasiphi Phaliso giving us an insight there when it comes to that sign language dialect being experienced in the Eastern Cape, and saying that they need government assistance to train more people in that province who can communicate in sign language to help those who are not able to speak.